let's get back to the real business. All right, guys. So we are working on a project right now, and it is our spooky project. I need to find it, though. I had a project descriptor. Oh, I have the classwork right here. Okay, so spooky themed music. Here is our project description right here. As it's loading. Now, Isabel and Ricky, don't freak out. Even though we're working on a project. So here we go. So we have our synthesizer. We have our samples, which we're not going to learn how to do today. Okay. So we're learning how to do parts of our project, but not the whole thing. We know how to do the reverb, and we know how to do the drum machine. And the time thing, even that we're still kind of learning how to do. Okay. So we're going to I'm going to teach you guys how to really lock your timing down today, so you kind of know how long your track is. And we're going to go and learn some more things about our synthesizer. Okay. And we'll do samples next week. And because this is a 2-week long project, maybe even a little bit more, that gives us plenty of time. Oh, I just realized that my camera over here is the side camera and not the front facing cameras I would prefer. There it is. Now I'm back in the right spot. So just know we're not going to get to everything today, but definitely synthesizer, reverb, drum machine, and time is the important thing. Okay, so now we're over here in Audio Tool. Anytime you're working in Audio Tool, remember untitled is bad. So we are always labeling. I'm going to say this again and again. Label, label, label. Because if you have a giant stream of untitles, you're going to have a bad time. So spooky themed music. And I'm going to call this example 1. Oh, I'm sorry, example 2. Because we worked on it before. I'm going to click save. It's going to do some magical things in the background. But mostly what I do is just name the track. Okay. I'm going to kind of start off with a similar thing so I did before. So I'm going to add a drum machine. Remember, that's the one with the little colors over here. I think I might actually put myself down the bottom corner over here so it's a little easier to see. Okay, so we have a drum machine, and I'm going to, it's going to feel like there's random cowbells happening. And I'm going to add a reverb onto that. And if you guys don't remember how to do a reverb, it's the purple one that's right here. And we have to make the spaghetti work. We have to make the wires work. We have to take the output of the drum machine and put it to the input of the reverb. Outs go to ins. So I'm going to take out the master here. And I'm going to take the master over here. I'm going to put it into the input. And then I'm going to press play. We're going to see what this sounds like. You know what? That's not scary at all. I'm going to choose a different sound. I'm going to choose... We're going to choose... That's kind of cool. Just a little closed hi-hat. Notice how it's just like... I had a lot of reverb. Turn up on the knobs here. Kind of works, doesn't it? Yeah. Kind of has a little bit of a creepy sound. Remember, we're building up layers here. So that's how we do the drum machine. And then I'm going to add a synthesizer. Oops, I'm having trouble finding one. So, of course, we picked the synthesizer with the little wood sides, right? And we can double click. It'll automatically show up. We change the waveform. And think about this. When you're going to octaves, you can make low sounds by turning the octave down, or you can make high sounds by turning the octave up. And I'm going to add a box over here. Double click on the box. And imagine you just get to make patterns. Just kind of use your... So maybe if I'm making a low sound, maybe I should make that happen really slowly. Woo. Excuse me. And then I'm going to turn on the repeater. The repeater button's right here. It says loop on and off. And notice how that loop area happens here. Now okay, so this is going to, when I press play, it's It's going to make that sound, and then it's going to stop. And then it's going to loop back over here. Now I can make this section repeat by going back over to the pointer tool and watch this. See that little arrow? I can drag and notice it like takes this note and it makes it happen twice. Now, if you found that note really annoying, there is an area called the filter. Okay, and that's right here. And what we can do is we can take this knob and we can turn it down, and it'll filter out. It'll filter out some of those annoying higher frequencies. So I'm going to press play. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Okay, and now remind you guys too, we're also supposed to use ADSR. So we have attack, decay, sustain, and release. And we're going to get those going too. So attack, I'm going to slow down the attack a bunch. Ooh, that sounds pretty cool. I'm just going to kind of change everything. Now remember, what we're going for here is creepy sounding music. So if it's kind of meeting the criterion of creepy, that's fine. If you're not demonstrating all of the, let's say, synthesizer things in one example, like that's okay, because you can add more than one synthesizer. And the way you add more than one synthesizer is you go back over to the side where it says devices, double click on the synthesizer, and then it's a little hard to see, but now I have two of them. And I have two note lanes down over here. And you know what? This one's called pulverizer, so I'm going to rename it. I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to call that low sound. And now this next one, I'm going to make this, this one's going to be called Twinklies. Because we're going to be hearing some nice twinkly sounds and so forth. And I'm going to take my pen tool and I'm going to make one of these. Just a reminder, Mr. Dean loves to label things with colors. I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to feel the same way. I think I'm going to choose Blueberry Muffin. That's a fun one. Okay, and then I'm going to use my zoomer. And I'm going to zoom in. Now twinklies are going to be high sounds, and I'm going to just choose a lot of notes. If that sounded creepy, that's exactly what we want. You don't have to choose notes. Ooh, that is creepy. Now, if that sounds like a bunch of boops, remember we have a volume up over here so we can turn it down. It's kind of silly. Now I'm going to change my amp envelope. I'm going to change my attack, decay, sustain, and release. I'm going to make the sustain really low on these. I'm going to make it just like real slow decay, real fast release. That's kind of cool. I'm going to change the wave. Remember the wave is the... That kind of works. And then I'm going to turn down my filter. Also, there's this thing called resonance too, which is kind of a handy little one. That'll turn up and add a little pang to it. That's kind of cool. Lets it cut through. And you know what I'm going to do with this? To make it extra creepy, I'm going to add a reverb. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to drag a reverb next to that. Now I have to do the spaghetti thing. I'm going to have to unplug this one. I'm going to run it through my reverb. There we go. Hey, spooky themed music. That's exactly what we're looking for, guys. Alright, now let's kind of review the top of what we did here. I created a drum machine, added a reverb. I made a synthesizer and created a nice low sound. That's this red one right here. And I created a second synthesizer with a bunch of twinklies and added a reverb onto that. Let's talk about time. Okay. Now, if I were to zoom out on this, this is how long the song could be. Wow, that's a really long time. Look at this. I only have like 5 seconds done. This is how long it takes to produce music. I'm going to pause it. By the way, you can still hear the reverb trail on beyond there. That's kind of cool. And I want you guys to notice this little P right here. You guys see that? That represents the end of the song. Okay. And then if you remember how to know what your time is, if you go up here to the top and you click on bars, and you click on the word bars, it'll switch to time. Now, I happen to make, if I were to zoom back, okay, so I'm going to zoom back in. Just this little tiny idea was 8 seconds long. And if you remember, I'm going to go back over to my spooky project. We're looking for 2 minutes. That's why we're doing 2, maybe even 3 weeks for this project. We need to make 2 minutes of Twinklies. By the way, it doesn't have to be constantly different. It's just like 2 minutes. You just have to fill up that amount of time. And so I need to move, I'm going to move my cursor until I look at the time up here until I get to the 2 minute mark. It looks like around, it looks like 2:08. Perfect. That's around the number 65. So if I move this P, which represents the end of the song, and I move that to the 65, it is now trimmed off all that extra stuff. And now this is how long my song has to be. And what I can do in order to fill up my song now, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I want you guys to be thinking about this, is you can then press down the Control button and you can copy ideas. You can repeat them. You can have a little space where something else happens. You guys kind of get the idea here, and you're going to, and I don't think you should have the whole thing be the same stuff. We should have some different stuff happening in our timeline. But between 1 and 65, you're going to fill that up with all sorts of cool little sounds. Now, we have 15 minutes left in class right now. And what I would like you to do is you're going to go and log into Audio Tool, and you're going to put 15 minutes into working on this. Okay. I want to point out what we learned today. We learned about how to set the time. We learned how to use our drum machine. We didn't really use 5 sounds, but that's okay. We learned how to add reverb. We learned how to use the synthesizer. We learned about ADSR, so those attack, decay, sustain, release. Oh, and then we learned how to use the filter. Few things I have not taught you about yet. I have not taught you about something called the LFO. That's going to happen another day, okay, in the future. So, but don't worry, you'll be able to just turn some knobs and that'll work. And then we haven't talked about samples. And we will learn how to use samples another day as well. So, but we can get a good start on a project. You're going to kind of look at that 2 minutes and you're going to see if you can fill that up. And you have 15 minutes right now. If you guys have any questions, you can stick around on the call. Other than that, when I'm checking GoGuardian, I'd like to see that everybody is working on Audio Tool. All right, guys, have a great day. Oh, and don't forget, something is due on Friday. Everyone type in the chat box, what's due on Friday? What's due on Friday? If you're typing in the words Flipgrid, that would be good. If you're typing in the words Sight Reader 2, that would be good. As soon as you type in one of those 2 things, you can hop off the call and go start working on your Audio Tool. I just realized I'm looking at the wrong part of the chat. There we go. Yay! Sight Reader 2 Flipgrid. Flipgrid thingy. Good job, Alex. Flipgrid. Yeah. Work hard. Practice. Play the song 100 times. Devin, in order to copy notes, you press the Control button and you drag it. So I'm pressing Control, click, and then drag, and it'll copy anything you want. I think you can also do copy paste. You could highlight Control C, Control V. No, doesn't work. You have to do it another way. You might be able to right click. No. It's a web app, so not everything's going to be perfect. Nice. Does anyone have any questions for me? Isabel, you should be totally confused. Isabel, why don't you stick around here for a second? I'll show you exactly what to do. I'm going to... All right, you there, Isabel? Yay. Okay, so I was just doing an example of how we're making beats, and we use a program called Audio Tool. And it's audiotool.com. It looks just like this. And what you do is, today I want you to go and sign up, which means you're going to go to the login. And then you're going to click on the G for Google. And you're going to go and you're going to make an account. And that's actually pretty much all I want you to do today. We'll have Ricardo do the same thing too.